The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this episode are that of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the values of sponsors or other associated organizations. Welcome to the Parental Compass. I am your host, Bobby Williams. If you like what you hear today, please like, share, and subscribe to us on Apple Music or Spotify. We appreciate you. Today we're talking all about the world of foster care. Why to become a foster parent? How do you manage behaviors once you have these kiddos in your home? It was also a little bit of a family reunion type episode for me. I worked with youth in foster care for 7 years, and today we're talking with some of my old colleagues. Craig Smith, I think of Craig as a consultant to foster families and case managers, and just an overall very knowledgeable guy about the foster care system. We also spoke with Nathan LaChine. Nathan is a foster parent himself and does a lot of work to recruit other foster families. So we did a deep dive into the world of foster care. I think you're going to learn some things. But first, here's a quick word from our sponsor, AmeriGroup. We're all filling a lot of different roles in life. Parent, coworker, friend. Well, AmeriGroup offers whole care for the whole you. It's all covered. Doctor visits, prescriptions, extra vision benefits, and even help getting your GED. Visit chooseamerigroup.com/WA. Which, I mean, the behaviors are a real thing. What would you say to a potential foster parent who's struggling with this idea?
Well, I personally like to see the behaviors come out of the kiddos because that usually means that they're actually feeling safe. And that's one of those things of where they go, oh, well, they're going to backtalk me. Okay, well, every kid's backtalking you. That means that they feel safe in the home enough to actually have that conversation and they know you're a safe person. And really just informing them different connective strategies for parenting, restorative justice. There's lots of little tips and tricks that we use within the agency that addresses these behaviors. And it's really about, a harm reduction model of that, you started up really high with their behaviors and they're slowly every day getting better and trying to focus on the positives and just reinforcing all of those great behaviors. Yes, it's great. You made that coping mechanism. Instead of yelling and screaming at me, you decided to disengage and go on a walk, or you decided to go to your bedroom and come back out at a later time to talk with us. And it's all about just focusing in on those positives.
The main question is, why become a foster parent then? You're entering something that's going to be challenging, but it's meaningful. Why do you think people become foster parents?
I think it's kind of a multitude of reasons of why people decide to take on this interesting life journey. I've seen people that are looking to do the foster to adopt to grow their families because they, for whatever biological reasons, aren't able to have kids. But I see a lot of the people that join us that are working with kind of the older kids and the teenagers are ones that have either been in the system themselves or have seen traumas in their own personal lives. And they're really trying to give back and help the next generation. And I think that's a lot of the driving force is really they want to be able to help level up kind of the next generation and provide them the things they never had of a stable home, loving families. And it's really about just what are we doing for our community when we're, out, especially like in our Aberdeen and Sequim areas, and there's more rural communities. The community wants to rally around the kiddos. Sometimes they just don't know how, and they don't know, oh, could I be a foster parent or couldn't I? So there's a lot of that community pride of keeping the community intact and sharing that shared cultural history.
I've actually heard the same exact things from foster parents. So what Ethan's talking about, they're invested in their community. They might be driving through downtown Olympia and you see the egregious homelessness that's going on. Prospective foster parents have a different take on that. They have an inner voice that says, I can do something about that. And I want to do something about that.
Yeah, well, everyone complains so much about the challenges, but to actually step up and do something about it in your life in a deep, meaningful way, that means so much. What do you think are some of the myths around foster parenting that exist? Because you hear a lot of them.
Oh my, go for it, Craig. You've been doing this as long as I have.
Well, I don't talk to people that are potentially going to become foster parents as much as Nathan does. So I just talk to a lot of people who are already foster parents. But one of the common myths is that they're stacking kids, meaning that they're just housing children and collecting money. I haven't really seen a whole lot of, I mean, it's not that I haven't seen that, but that's not really a valid concern. I think, especially with the way that we do foster care, where we're connected all the time, we would know if that's going on and it wouldn't be okay. But overwhelmingly, what I see is a sincerity to give that is astounding. And I find it inspiring because it doesn't matter how bad things go. Foster parents they don't hesitate to jump back on that horse and give again.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, when I'm going out in the communities and talking to people, I'm a single parent. I have a partner, significant other that we're not legally married to. I've seen people go, oh, I live on a farm and I've got, horses and cows, to, I didn't believe that being part of the LGBTQ community that I could be a foster parent or that I would be welcome. I mean, I've seen all, walks of life come to us that are interested in it, and they come to us for those variety of reasons. And that's where it's really about what's your driving force to want to take on this journey and to take on the most incredible heartaches and the most incredible soul inspiring things you're ever going to see when these kids are moving forward. So as long as you are a loving, caring person and have a home, or you rent, or you have an apartment or a townhouse, you can be a foster parent.
Well, let's talk about behavior some, because that's really interesting to me. There's this idea that what works for a child who hasn't been through trauma is different than what works for a child who has been. So what are some of the differences of, say, behavior management that are specific to youth and foster care?
There's a term, my mentor, and Bobby, your mentor as well, used to use the term second set of parenting skills. What that basically means is, if I take an example of me as being a parent of my own children, if I'm asking them to do something and they're not listening, I can raise my voice and they'll say, oh, okay, I didn't know you actually meant it. I really try to avoid doing that because I don't want my own children to be motivated by fear. But nonetheless, if you were to raise your voice, or if you get upset with the kiddos that we work with, it doesn't change anything. It's different. You have to come up with a whole different set of tactics. You have to be able to set expectations and hold kids accountable in a way that keeps the engagement open, in a way that keeps the relationship intact, and that keeps the doors open for them to still be able to come and talk to you. And that's a really difficult balance to be able to do. And I'll give you an example. Like Nathan, he has a kiddo that's just traditionally had really difficult problems sleeping. And so online schooling has been really hard because he's not jazzed about getting up and sitting in front of a computer and having screen time, and it's early in the morning, and he still has trouble sleeping as much as he ever did. So what Nathan did was he set the expectation that he's going to be able to be getting up. And then he provided an environment that's supportive to the kiddo meeting that expectation. The family dining room is all cleared off, waiting for him in the morning. He'll cook breakfast, so there's smells going on. And then the really key part about what's different with these kids, let's say the kiddo doesn't get up for it, and then the next morning he doesn't get up, but you're still reasserting that expectations. Now, if the kiddo doesn't get up and you're a foster parent and you're pretty outraged about this, you're pretty angry, chances are you're not going to have a lot of success in the future being able to get that kiddo up. So it's a matter of being able to reassert those expectations over and over in a way where you stay centered, you stay balanced. You're not getting emotionally tipped over. That's kind of what we refer to about second set of parenting skills. It's about being able to manage your own behavior, really, and being able to have that balance of being able to be accepting of a kiddo for who they are, as well as being able to hold them accountable. Being able to do that and balance that, it takes a lot of work, and it's a tremendous opportunity for foster parents or prospective foster parents to grow, to learning those skills.
Yeah, I think the idea of just keeping yourself centered and calm. What about consequences or how do you get that behavior you want? Like I hear you're talking about how Nathan, prepares breakfast and things, but are there other ways that you can handle discipline? I guess, do you have any ideas about that, Nate?
Yeah. So really, I try to get to the root causes, and we're a huge fan of what's called restorative justice. So at the end of the day, when the kid does something wrong in the house, in our community, we need to restore them to that previous place they were. So depending on what the behavior is, we want to have what's a natural consequence. So if, say, the kiddo is abusing their phone privileges and is up late past when they were supposed to be, we might go, okay, well, you were supposed to turn your phone in at 9:30. You didn't turn it in till 10 o'clock. We're going to take 30 minutes of your phone time away for the next day. So it's a very logical. You went over 30 minutes, you have to pay back that 30 minutes. We try to really focus in on, especially if, say, they broke something. Kiddos get upset, they slam a door. Doors aren't designed to be slammed. They break it, or, the door hits the wall and puts a nice hole in my wall. So we're going to fix that, but we try to fix it together. So instead of me just contracting somebody, we're going to do it together. So one, I'm teaching my kids a life skill of how to repair a wall, because I'm sure they're going to need to know it, but we're also figuring out how to restore it back to the previous, to its previous glory. So we've also tried to focus on any of the consequences where it can include myself doing chores with them, where they're helping me, because I don't want them to be like right now. If I had to have a kid go outside and help rake leaves, I'm going to go out there with them, even though it's their consequence, because I don't want them to ever feel like they're ostracized from the family. We do everything together. This is how you're restoring your place in our family, in our community, and you're paying for whatever the damage was by doing that work. And I'm by your side because, especially with our kids, they're not going to talk to you if we sit down like at the dining room table like we do every night. A lot of our conversation are one answers. But if we do something as we're building something, cleaning something, I get way more conversation going on. And then sometimes the kids are really telling me the root cause of why they felt this way, because, say, they got a bad grade on their test, the teacher called them out in a class, and they felt stupid, and this is how they felt at their own homes. And this is when their parent would XYZ. So really being able to get to those root causes is what I'm looking for.
It's always so much easier to get a conversation going when it's not like, sit down and talk to me, but something else is happening. Totally.
But the really cool part about it, restorative justice, the kids that we work with, where they come from, bad things happened when they were in trouble. And a lot of times that trouble didn't leave. It just stuck around. They were always in a deficit socially. They were, I guess, in therapeutic circles, they were defined as what's called an identified problem. The cool thing about restorative justice is that once they do that work and they're out there and they're engaging with Nathan, they're doing the work, and it's actually kind of a family activity. Once it's done, whatever the reason was that they were doing that work, whatever it is that they got in trouble for, it's over.
Yeah.
They are free and clear, and they are in the same social status as everybody else. We don't ever have to revisit that. It's just a whole different therapeutic way of dealing with consequences.
I like the idea too of like literal restorative justice. Restore the hole in the wall to a wall.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think makes a good foster parent? Like if you were going to take a few core qualities that you need for a good foster parent, what would you say that is?
Gosh, I think that's going to be a person who's kind of experienced their own traumas in life, because they kind of have a better understanding of where our kiddos are coming from. Somebody who's really very willing to learn, because I can tell you, even after 16 years of doing this and even facilitating trainings, I learn stuff all the time. I think people that are really connected with their communities and like to do different activities. And those activities, we have kids with our foster families that love Dungeons and Dragons, all the way to the ones that want to go, rock climbing and whitewater rafting and hiking. So just those families that like to do activities together, because they get to connect and they get to have fun. Pretty much any way you think you can be a parent and you want to get involved, learn how to become a foster parent, because there are kids out there that need you.
What about you, Craig? What do you think makes up a good foster parent? One thing I think is you have to have some kind of grit to you too, or you got to be a little, not a total pushover,
Yeah. I think a healthy sense of adult self. If you're trying to get into this and it's a fulfillment of something of what you need, then it's not going to be effective. You have that sense of self. So regardless of what happens with the kiddos that are in your home, you know who you are. You know what you love to do. You know what you need to do to get back on track.
I appreciate that, definitely. Another thing I hear when speaking with people potentially interested in foster parenting is the idea of, well, I don't want to foster a teenager because they're already pretty much developed in who they are. And what sort of impact can I make at that point if they're already, 15, 16? What would you say to that parent?
Well, one, teenagers, they get your jokes better than the younger kiddos. So I would just say that that's not true. And that's really not how life works. And Nathan and I have known each other for 12, 13 years. We've been talking probably weekly, if not daily basis throughout that time. There's always going to be opportunities for Nathan and I to know each other in a way that we never knew each other before. So the idea, teenagers, that's right in the midst of development. That's a really important time. And, a lot of the kiddos that we work with, my own kiddos, they've already participated. They're young. They've already participated in sports. There's other structured activities that they're going to be participating in. A lot of the kiddos that we work with, they were in a survival mode throughout their entire life. They haven't had those opportunities to be able to provide some normalcy before they become an adult. That's a critical point in their lives. Yeah. And, you can provide that even if it's only for a year or something. They now have a model for when they grow up and they're an adult. Maybe they have their own kids. You might not think it, but just being able to provide that model of safety and an environment where families do things together without really explosive, negative things happening, that's something they'll always be able to look back on. And a lot of times those teenagers, and Nathan knows, he's got a lot of experience about this because come Christmas time, he's talking to a lot of kids in his home and he's doing different things with those kids in their home. Those teenagers that are in care, a lot of times they don't have anyone. Even as an adult, maybe they're not like your adoptive child, but they still need somebody to go to on Christmas, or they still need somebody to call if they have a hard time when they're an adult.
During the holidays and during my birthday, my kids are my kids. I'm 37 years old and I've got 5 grandbabies. My kids still come over during the holidays and still come over during non-COVID times to do barbecues and bring the other grandbabies with them. And my next generation of foster kids seeing that you are always part of my family has been such a pillar for, I think, my success, because the kids really see that you're here for the long term. And think about even nowadays, I call my dad and I'm like, Dad, how do I do this electrical on my panel? Hey, Dad, how do I fix this plumbing? It's leaking. What wrench do I need? Because I don't want to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and seem like an idiot when I go, that wrench that torques it this way. So the kids being able to call me and being able to message me and go, hey, Dad, how do I do this? I get calls even for the most basic things of like, hey, I just got a job. How do I fill out my W-9? Hey, taxes are coming around. Why did I get this from 5 different jobs? Do I just throw it away? Those basic questions that you think, oh, you're 25. You should know how to fill out your own tax return. They don't have that. So being able to be that person they can call it's been a rock for them for many, many years. And I hope that, when I hit 65 and I need them to come over and do my plumbing, that they'll be willing to.
Totally. Well, you both just do so much in the community, and I'm proud to know both of you. Do you have any quick closing thoughts for our audience you want to share?
I would say connections to the community and connections to other caregivers are what really determines how successful you're going to be long-term in the foster care community. Reach out to other current foster parents, reach out to other organizations, and just see what's out there, because there's many choices. There's many ways you can get involved with foster care, from being a respite provider where it's scheduled on the weekends or the week that you're going to be off, versus full-time foster care. We would love to talk with you and we'd love for you to become involved.
Drop your website on us real quick, Nate.
Sure. That is communityyouthservices.org.
What about you, Craig? Any closing thoughts for us?
I often feel like we live in a world where it's there's a lot of representations of reality, and there's not a lot of open-ended opportunity. And foster care is one of those open-ended opportunities where you truly have an opportunity to make a difference. It's very real. It's worth it. In dire need.
It definitely is. Well, again, just thank you both of you for the work you continue to do, and it's been great having you here today. Craig, Nate, just thank you for continuing to do the important work. The world needs people like you, and it needs foster parents. That's our show. On behalf of Family Education and Support Services and AmeriGroup, this has been the Parental Compass. We'll see you next week. Peace.